Oh my gosh. As I live and breathe, it's Mike Reno. How the heck are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing tremendous. The last time we had you on, it was a couple years ago. I don't even think Zoom was a thing yet. We did this thing like you called us on the phone and did a spot. Times have changed a little bit in the last 2 years, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yes. Well, Lord, they sure have. I'll tell you what. When we talked last time, Zoom wasn't happening. We were all
Yep.
stuck at home, and we were all trying to figure out what to do next because all the concerts are being canceled. Correct?
Absolutely correct. And luckily, we've kind of moved on from that. And guys, once again, we are on the road to rock, and we're being joined by Loverboy frontman Mike Reno, one of my favorite singers of all time. And I'm not just saying that. By the way, you look great. You got the hair is a different color, I think. It was much lighter than last time. I love it.
I'm doing the au natural look this tour. Plus, maybe I'll put these on and I can see you. Oh, there you are.
Wow.
Clint, look how good you look.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Maybe take them back off. I'm still devastated, Mike. I'm heading to the Super Bowl. I'm heading to LA tomorrow to cover the Super Bowl, because we do sports as well. So, but I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and the Chiefs aren't joining me. So, I guess I'll get to cover Rams and Bengals. That'll be fun.
Yeah, not as fun as it would have been if the old Chiefs got in. What I thought that game was done. I thought it was a done deal.
Yeah,
Wow.
so did we, Mike. And that's football, though, right? I think the Niners probably felt the same way. So that's how it works out, I guess. So I mean, I think Loverboy, you guys had a Super Bowl spot a couple years ago. Was it everybody's working for the weekend on a Radio Shack?
I think they used it for Radio Shack.
Yeah,
right?
It was Radio Shack.
Yeah.
We want our 80s back, I think is what. Yeah, that was great. I didn't know. Are you a sports fan very much, or?
You know what? I started watching football when I became friends with the guys in the owners of the 49ers years ago.
Oh.
And then I kind of got away from it. But then the last 2 years, I got right back into it, and I watched every game.
Wow. The Niners are well represented. They've got you, Huey Lewis, as we know, and Eric Martin from Mr. Big, good friend of ours, all Niners fans. The Chiefs, we don't have any celebrity fans. Well, Melissa Etheridge, I think. We'll take that.
I'm a big Chiefs fan, so you can add me to the list.
Mike, that just means I knew this would just pull me right out of the lethargy that I've been living in for a week or so. Well, heading to LA, heading to Pacific time tomorrow, where I hear it's like 85 degrees. So I'm excited about that at least. So
yeah, it's nice and warm out here right now. I'm out in California right now as well, enjoying some of this nice sunshine. Vancouver gets a little rainy this time of year, so I'm glad to be here right now.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are gearing up because this is, as far as I'm concerned, correct me if I'm wrong, this has to be one of the bigger years for Loverboy in quite some time. You guys have, of course, doing some spot shows coming up. For one, how many shows have you guys done here? Like, say, in the last couple of years, have you done many?
We have done exactly 0.
That's what I thought.
And we're coming back starting in March 9th.
Yep.
We're going up to Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. And then the 10th or 11th, rather, we're going to be somewhere else. I'm going to look it up for you just so I know. Unless you know, of course, you may know it.
I got it right here. Yeah, March 19th in Alabama, then to Davenport, Iowa. So, and these are perfect. I think whoever your guys' management has got it perfect, because you guys are going to get your sea legs under you for some of these awesome spot shows, which includes a stop here April 8th at the Durant at the Choctaw Casino, which is one of the best concert venues in America. So April 8th, get ready for that one here at the Grand Theater.
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic.
Oh.
I can't wait for that one.
So you guys are doing some spot shows, going to get the legs back under you before the big summer tour. You guys are out all summer with our good friend Styx and Reo Speedwagon. What a gig for you guys. And it's a lot of dates, and it runs all summer long. How awesome is that?
We didn't realize what we were doing when we took these shows. We thought this is going to be great to come back. It was quite an honor to be invited, not only by the management, but it was actually the band members that chose us to come out with them. And over the years, we've got to know them, of course, because we played concerts together, for many years. And, we've always enjoyed each other's company. We've done, Kevin Cronin and I and the wives did a thing over in Europe, which was kind of fun during just when we were downtime at some winter time. It was a beautiful experience. We got to know each other quite well. And I just recently took a a call from my management, and there's like 4 pages. You know, there's 4 pages of. I mean, I can't believe what I agreed to. What am I, crazy? And they just added 10 new shows, I think today, for September, right up to the 20th.
Wow. So this is going to be extensive. I mean, I've asked this question so many times over the last year or so. I'm almost tired of asking it, but like, am
I wearing my red leather pants? Of course I am. I'm wearing them right.
Okay, that's a given. And I hope you're right. And I know it's a Zoom call, but those should be on at all times. You can't fake that, Mike. You can't, I've got through like wearing a suit top and just shorts, but you can't get away with that. But I mean, there has to be, as a vocalist, it's a voice is a muscle. You're going to have, how are you going to get back ready for this vocally? How's that going to look?
Already practicing. I've got a little mixer in one of our rooms and a microphone, and put on the old headphones. And I got a bunch of tracks that we've recorded without vocals, my band. And I just sing. I do it maybe 3 times a week. And by the time I hit the stage in March 9th, I'm going to be a seasoned pro once again.
Well, that goes without saying. You guys always had been doing, dozens, if not multiple 30, 40 dates a year for most of the band's existence. Right. Exactly. So, I mean, that's why this last 2 years for so many bands has been so difficult, is it just breaks that habit of what you've been doing for over 40 years now.
Well, what's been happening, Clint, is that a lot of the times they won't let the people be together in a close quarters indoors.
Right.
So, and if they do, they say you can only have a half or a third of the amount of people. So the concert's going to be half empty because of the laws of the land. Every state's got a different law. Every place has, and you can't just do that. I mean, you just can't say, okay, you can only have half the people come, and so a lot of the promoters just said, well, why bother? It's not even worth it. So not only did the bands have to sit around and, do nothing for 2 years, but the promoters are, hurting too. The hotels are hurting. The casinos that we play are hurting all across the country. I mean, it's a bad deal. I'm ready to jump back in. This is entering the 3rd year of this, and I have frankly had enough.
I absolutely agree with you. And I didn't realize, maybe I took for granted live music because I went to 50, 60 shows a year, and that's just kind of what I do. And I travel a lot, and it's just a big part of my life. But when that first concert happened, after it had been, over a year, I think it was Great White and Slaughter, of all bands. And it was just like that first note hit. And I was like, oh my God, how did I ever live without this? There's a mental health aspect to this that live music just cures for so many people. And to be without that has been terrible for so long, but hopefully better times ahead, it appears.
I agree. It's like magic. It's definitely a remedy for a lot of life's stresses. And yes. It is for me too. Music, we play music around the house all the time. I play guitar all the time. I'm trying to get into doing some concerts, going to some concerts. Now California's starting to open up a little bit, where I am right now. And music is the magic elixir of life, guaranteed. And I'm totally with you on that, Clint.
And it has been for you since, and I have to bring this up because I was just in Vegas and saw some of our good friends from KISS, Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer, did like a show together doing all the 80s KISS songs. But the Loverboys, as I understand it, Loverboy's first ever act was opening for KISS in 1979. First ever show, right?
First ever show. We didn't even have our bass player at the time. We had our friend from April Wine, a bassist from April Wine, sit in and play with us. And it was so funny because he'd only had come to a few practices just for fun, something to do, keep his chops up. And when our manager called, it was actually the New York Dolls got turned away at the border. I don't know why, but and so they weren't allowed to come into Canada. We're in Vancouver. So our manager got a call that said, we need a band. So he called me, and I said, well, we don't even have a bass player. He said, find somebody and let's do this. And it was so crazy because we had to walk up to him on stage and do, like, in his ear, nonchalantly go, doom, 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 for Turn Me Loose, right? But I mean, and as soon as I did that, he kind of had it figured out. And
wow.
It was nerve-wracking, and we didn't get booed off the stage. We'd never had a record on the radio, so it was
Right.
basically the first time we played in front of people. We hadn't even done a record yet. So talk about nerve-wracking.
Unbelievable story. I think there's a 30 Rock episode that kind of parodies this, where one of the characters like goes back and like they're the original bassist from Loverboy, and it's a show that I vividly remember. So this lore has been explored in later years. But as I looked through just what the 80s was, I remember, because I'm only 38 years old, so I came up on this. I remember the Royals won the World Series in 1985. I'm just a little kid. I'm 1 year old, but a couple years later, a compilation tape comes out of that World Series, and I hear this song called "The Kid Is Hot Tonight," and it's played over Brett Saberhagen, the Royals Cy Young Award winner. It's playing over his highlights, and it's just perfect because he was like 19 years old. That's like, as I trace it back, that's the first song I ever remember hearing in my life, is "The Kid Is Hot Tonight" by Loverboy. And as I look through your guys' catalog, the consistency you guys had through the 1980s is unbelievable when you think about the studio albums from 1980, from "To Get Lucky" to "Keep It Up" to "Loving Every Minute of It" to "Wild Side." You guys really were one of the more consistent bands of the 1980s, and I don't think you get enough credit for that.
Well, you know what? We were hot. The kid was hot. Let's put it that way. We were on fire, and I think a lot of it is what we were touring. We were touring every night, playing every night. We were kind of like in our prime. We were doing it. We were young. We were traveling around the world. We had songs. We did songs in sound check. When we got off the road a couple of weeks later, or even a week later, we went right into the studio and cut a next record. The next thing we'd do that, we'd cut we just were always either on stage or in the studio, but it was always about music. And I think when you, it's just like a golfer, he golfs all day, every day. Pretty soon he's going to get pretty good. And I think that's kind of where that's what did it. We were always working. We were always singing. We were working for the weekend.
Yeah, literally. And that has embodied your entire career. And that's so admirable. And, a lot of people, Mike, will say that, our guy Kenny Loggins is the 80s soundtrack king, but I beg to differ, because I believe it's you. And here's why: because Almost Paradise with Ann Wilson is my favorite duet of all time. Footloose is my top 5 movie soundtracks for me of all time, and also Top Gun as well. But I always thought that song didn't have as a prominent spot in the movie as it should have. But I just want to go to Almost Paradise. That with Ann Wilson, to me, one of the most beautiful songs I can ever remember from a soundtrack. What was it like working with Ann, doing the soundtrack for that movie? Our guy Kenny Loggins was on it too, but I still hail you as the soundtrack king of the 80s, Mike.
You're so nice, Clint. You know what it was? It was one of these things where I got the song handed to me by my manager, and he said to me, "You can pick any female singer you want. This is a duet." And before he even turned around and left my room, I went, "Ann Wilson."
Wow.
Because I don't know if you guys know this, but Ann Wilson and her group lived in Vancouver for about 11 years.
Oh, wow.
And we used to go see them in nightclubs, and they'd play all kinds of Led Zeppelin. They were really good. They were like the Zeppelin, if you ever want to, And so they had that down. And then they started throwing in songs, and then they started recording. And they recorded the first few albums in Vancouver, and they did very well with these albums. Brought them up, and they became superstars. I've always loved her voice, and it was one of those nights. It was a cold night in Chicago. We had a day off from touring, and so did Hart. So we met in the studio. We took a minute to get to know each other, and then we stood up, looked at each other, same microphone, one take, and we were out of there.
Magic. And it also, to me, kind of helped Hart. It sort of ushered in Hart's new era too, because they went from Barracuda to These Dreams. You know what I mean?
Right.
The more pop sensible songs that they had, and that kind of bridged the gap for them. And to me, that song just always stood out, and I always thought it was tremendous. And I could see the heavens in your eyes in Top Gun. I mentioned that. To me, that song is so much better than the Berlin song that they used so prominently. And I could see the heavens in your eyes got kind of pushed to the side. It's like playing in the background, and yet it's such a big part of that soundtrack. That the Top Gun soundtrack, I think, went to number 1 in 1986. So another huge one there, right?
That was big. There's a funny story with that one too, if you want to hear it.
I do.
There was a call came to the office in Vancouver, and they wanted a meeting. This was the Simpson and Bruckheimer.
Mhm.
They
Yes.
were the producers of the movie. This is Top Gun. So I went down there, and I got through the Paramount Pictures. You know, you got to get in first. So I got in, and I park, and I go upstairs. There's this big office, and there's these two guys walking back and forth like this, and they're talking to each other, and they're passing ideas around. And the secretary told me to go in, so I'm standing there. So they're going like this, and I'm standing like right here. And finally, they both stop and go, "Can we help you?" And I said, "You guys wanted to see me. My name's Mike Reno." And they went, "Oh, great. Come on in." And they took me over to the corner, and they put a VCR in, and they played this scene where there was an argument with the two stars.
Yep.
And he got on his motorcycle and took off, and she got in her little Porsche Speedster and took off a little later and followed him up. He got to the restaurant bar, and he's standing at the jukebox machine, and then he stops it and he goes, "Can you write a song for that scene?" And I said, "Sure, I could." Being a ballsy Canadian guy, I didn't. You always say yes. That's what
Of course.
And I said, "When do you need it?" And he goes, "Thursday." And I said, "Today's Monday, right? I just flew down here from Vancouver. You want this by Thursday?" And he says, "Can you do it?" And I said, "Sure, I could do it." And I immediately flew back home. And before I flew, I told the guys, I told Paul and a guy we were working with, Dexter, to get together that song we were thinking about recording. And so they got it started. And by the time I got home, it was time for me to lay down the vocals. I rewrote a bridge. We mixed it, we mastered it, and we sent it down by Thursday. And they loved it. Now, I agree with you. They didn't really put it in the movie prominent enough for me. It should have been when he dropped the coin in.
Right.
And I think they played that Righteous Brothers song. You lost love and feeling. Because the essence was they may be falling out of love here, but really they were right in the grips of it, right? So Heaven in Your Eyes would have been great too. But You Lost That Love and Feeling, I think, was probably a bigger hit because it was a hit before, right?
Yeah. And they'd had Jerry Lee Lewis in there, Great Balls of Fire and all that.
Right.
So they kind of had a nod. I think it's interesting how bands, how their music is seen and heard and it's different ways. Loverboy is one of those bands that through so many means, by soundtracks, by commercials, by Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley, whenever that happened, the Saturday Night Live thing happens, whenever something like that goes down, do you think, wow, that's completely flattering, this is awesome? Or do you think, that's now what our song is going to be remembered as forever? Or do you care?
That was I heard that the first time in my hotel room, packing my bag because I don't like to pack in the morning. So we were on tour, and I guess we played a show earlier, and I'd been back in around 11:30, which is kind of when Saturday Night Live comes on, no matter where you are. And I got Saturday Night Live on. I'm packing my bag, getting ready to hit the sack, and it comes on, and I go, "Are you kidding me?" And I literally almost peed my pants. I mean, I'm just laughing so hard. I thought that was one of the highlights of that year for me. And you know what? I think I think it still goes in all their, when they do the top 50 scenes from Saturday Night Live, it's always in there, right?
Oh,
very, very, very cool.
Well, music to me is so visual. I have, visual representations of so many songs. And that's what I think's wonderful about Loverboy is you have so many different niches and so many different avenues that people relate Loverboy to, whether it be the red spandex, the bandanas, or the song, the movies, the Saturday Night Live. That's pretty good way, legacy to leave right there. And no regrets, right? I mean, all's well that ends well. You guys have had just a tremendous career.
The only thing I got to correct you on here, Clint, is I wish it was spandex, but it was actually real leather, and boy, that hurt. I mean, it used to leave our backsides completely red because leather is really hard to wear on stage, especially if you're a hard-working band and you're sweating, right?
Yeah, you guys did not.
Would have been a better idea. I like your idea better.
Well, you guys did not take any notes from David Lee Roth, who said he was, back in the 70s, he got his first pair on Van Halen 1, and he's like, they turned his legs black, and he said, this is a nightmare, but you're kind of tied to it then. You're kind of tied to the look, right? So
yeah, exactly.
That's it.
You are tied.
Mike, I got to ask you because, back in 2014, you guys released an album called Unfinished Business. With the last couple of years, pandemic going on, have you guys fired it up a little bit? Thought about ever, releasing some new music? What's kind of the idea, or are there any ideas? What's up with new music from Loverboy, if there is any at all?
Well, we just put a new song together called Release. It was a studio experiment. We weren't in the same room, and this is what's happened during COVID.
Oh yeah, very common. Yeah.
The only person that was in the room together was Paul and I. And it's because he wanted to help me record the vocal. So he came over to my place. We worked out some lyrics. We figured it all up, put it on. I sang it. And then he said, thanks. And then he sent it to Doug, and Doug put the keyboards on it. And then we sent it to Matty, our drummer, and he put the drums on it. Then we sent it to Winnipeg, and Spider put the bass on it. And then we sent it all back to Paul, and Paul mixed it and mastered it. And then he shot a little video using some old footage of us playing in all different areas, but he synced it up to make it look like we were singing the new song,
awesome.
Which I thought was very good, considering the fact that we were all supposed to, especially Canadian, up in Canada, they're very cautious. They wanted us all just to stay in our homes and barely even get groceries. So in those 2 years, we wrote a few songs, and we put them on our website, loverboyband.com, and let people just enjoy them for free. And, we all suffered in silence, didn't we?
Yes, that is very accurate. The song is released. It's right there on the front of the website right now, loverboyband.com. And you can get all the tour dates. And if you can't find a tour date in this country, in America, in North America, that's near you, then I can't help you, because you guys are touring extensively, to say the least. And I just hope everybody will be able to come out and check this out. I've seen Styx and Reo Speedwagon just about every summer for the last 7, 8, 9 years. They are tremendous. And to add you guys to the bill, that's a whole new, for those that haven't seen you guys or haven't seen you guys in a while, this is a great opportunity to hear. I mean, how many top 10 hits are we talking about between these three bands? You can't go to the bathroom, Mike. What are people supposed to do? You can't leave the venue for even a second.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. And how many hits are going to be on that stage? I mean, because everything Styx does is a hit, and everything Reo does is a hit, and everything we do was a hit. So, and I'm just telling it as fact. I mean, I'd have a hard time. I mean, I'm going to have a hard time being in my dressing room when the other bands are playing, because I'm going to want to be outside stage watching them, or right in the audience at the mixer board.
Oh, it's going to be tremendous, Mike. It is just always a pleasure to have you on here on the Road to Rock, and I can't wait to see you. Looks like right now we got you coming in here where I live, here in Kansas City, and that is going to be June the 16th, I believe. So here in Kansas City, it's going to be at Starlight Theater, which is just a tremendous venue. Seen a lot of great bands here, and we can't wait to have you guys here, and just best of luck through the whole tour. It's going to be, I know you're going to be exhausted. I might not talk to you for a while because you're going to be a little busy. So if this is goodbye, we'll see you in Kansas City, sir.
Hey, you come out backstage, and we'll have a nice cold drink waiting for you.
Hey, that sounds great, Mike. I'm going to take you up on that. We'll see you here in Kansas City. Have a tremendous tour. Can't wait. It's good, warmer weather. We're going to get to spring, and we're going to get on to some better days, my friend. Can't wait to do it.
Thank you, Clint.
Always a pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
Ciao.